Greetings, fellas. It is I, Big Fella. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to be talking about a video game that I recently finished. Well, technically, the 5th chapter hasn't come out yet, but a game that I have thoroughly enjoyed and I feel like I should share about with all of you. I am talking about Poppy Playtime, most recently, Chapter 4, which came out, I think, either last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure. But let me just say, it's a fun game. If you haven't played it yet, and I'm sure a lot of you have, because it's been circling YouTube, it's been circling the internet, because so far, all of the YouTube big shots now, well, I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of others that have probably done it that aren't as big as the guys I'm about to mention, but Queso, Markiplier, Corey X Kenshin, Jacksepticeye, all of them have played the latest chapter of this mascot horror game, and I gotta say, from someone who's also played it, it's a hell of a lot of fun. Now, if you guys were expecting to see me do a gameplay video of the game, I apologize. I do not know how to record gameplay yet. That's one thing I'm still trying to figure out, still trying to figure out the gist of YouTube, because, as I've mentioned before, I'm a baby at this. But I do promise you this. One day, Big Fella Plays will be introduced to this channel, and hopefully that can help me grow to the state that I want to be at. But moving on from that, this game is the newest mascot horror that a lot of people I've talked to that have played this. This could be the next Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I'm not entirely certain if it's ever going to go beyond the first game, but they've made merch about this. Like, I've seen fan art all over YouTube, over Discord, DeviantArt, wherever. And not only that, a bunch of YouTube artists have also made, like, shorts, like, animated around the characters. Well, more particularly the antagonists, including Huggy Wuggy, Kissy Missy, Mommy Longlegs, Catnap, the Smiling Critters, because we haven't seen what the protagonist looks like yet. They haven't, like, definitively determined if this protagonist is male, female, or whoever. But it's left up to interpretation. But when I played this game, I will say this. Chapter 4, I mean, it was still pretty scary at parts, especially the part where you meet Yarnaby. Would you Yarnaby, my friend? God, that was terrible, I'm sorry. But I would say that this chapter, well, like, in terms of scares, it was toned down a little bit compared to last chapter. I think, like, the first 3 chapters of this game, like, Huggy Wuggy in the first chapter when he's chasing after you in the vents, the fact that he's, like, I think almost 10 feet tall, and he's able to, like, squeeze himself into these tiny vents and, like, chase after you at, like, breakneck speeds, I find that absolutely terrifying. Like, I don't know, oh god, I was literally, oh god, what do I do, what do I do? And then the next chapter, we get introduced to Mommy Longlegs, who, unlike Huggy Wuggy, is able to talk, and let me just say, the voice actress, Elsie Lovelock, she did really good in that game. I mean, if you guys are not familiar with who she is, she's also in Murder Drones. I don't remember the name of her character, but I believe she voices the main character. Also, Elsie, if you ever see this video, keep up the good work. I love your performances. But then, next off was the episode where we are introduced to Catnap. And if his name doesn't give it away already, and if you've played the game, then you know this dude literally can put you to sleep with the red smoke that comes out of his mouth. And the fact that he was part of, like, a little group of critters known as the Smiling Critters, comprised of a dog, an elephant, a bear, a chicken, and a unicorn, oh, and a rabbit as well. They were so cute, but when you play the recordings of their cardboard cutouts, and you basically hear their final moments, so to speak, it's really sad. Like, this game really tugs on your heartstrings, because if I'm not mistaken, if I'm reading the lore right, this, like, Playtime Co., the in-game company that's made all these monstrous toys, they literally take the souls of children and make them into these toys. And I'm just like, damn, that's dark as hell. But it definitely makes for a good story. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like, they dealt with kids getting killed in Five Nights at Freddy's, so Mob Entertainment, you're doing really good with that one. But I will say that, like, this game is really good. The only complaint I have about it is the puzzles. I hate the puzzles because you got to use these arm things. Like basically, they're like those. You guys ever have those, like, retractable claw toys when you were a kid? You would push a button and they would extend out like a few inches. Imagine that, But if you had like a backpack with these arms, you shoot them and they can basically grab anything. And I think in game it's even mentioned that one time someone shot it at someone's face and ripped their face off. I'm like, and you guys are making this for kids? Like, what is wrong with you? But I also like all the different types of of the like detachable hands you can get, because for instance you got like the generic blue and red one, which can basically like help you like fly or like grab objects that you need to progress in the game. Then they had another one in chapter 2, which I believe was like one that you used to jump around or maybe to power like electrical circuits, I remember. And then another one that's a flare gun. And I honestly, I'm pretty sure, like, due to the fact that I mostly play shooter games, I mean, I play adventure, I play horror, I play a matter of stuff where you are able to fight back, but due to the fact of playing, like, so many of these shooter-type games, realizing that I'm shooting flares on a limited ammo supply made me go, oh my god, I'm so screwed. But I really did like Chapter 4. Chapter 4 was really fun, and I did like how we got a nice change of pace with being introduced to Doughy the Dough Man. And let me just say, I really loved his energy. I thought he was a pretty cool character. Like, imagine you were able to morph into literally anything. It's kind of like he's kind of like a cartoon character, and he even has the voice of a cartoon character. Like, "Hiya, pal, follow me." That's a terrible impression. I'm trying to work on that stuff, but basically he's able to fit through cracks in walls, able to turn into a bridge, a bounce pad for you to jump across to get to a bridge. And all I gotta say is that, please God, do not make him the villain. Please, he is too nice. But of course, if you've ever played a horror game or you ever watch a horror movie and there's a character that's like really nice, really helpful, if all bets are off, then they're probably going to get killed by the villain, or they're going to end up the villain because something terrible happens to them. And spoiler alert, it does. The prototype, the overarching antagonist of this game, who we have yet to see what it looks like, that's even scarier. Like when you play a game and you literally don't know what to expect, like what to expect the final villain to be. But the prototype, he attacked the safe haven, which is the name of the chapter, by the way, and literally kills all the other toys that Doughy was trying to protect. And to basically hear him like break down and blame the player as well as Poppy, the namesake of the game, the little doll who was stuck in a box in chapter 1, it was really sad. And the fact that like I know like they're doing like this silent protagonist gig in this game, where the protagonist can't explain, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. But instead, you're literally like seeing this giant ball of dough cry for his friends, and then he proceeds to turn to a giant monster thing that chases you, like a giant kaiju clay monster. And I'm like, okay, this is terrifying. But then, as you fight him, like you pull a clay face, like a la Batman Arkham City, where you have to pull out these containers of ice, I think, or something to that effect. You shoot it with a flare gun, you freeze him, and then you pull down these saws that proceed to slice him into bits. Until finally, in the last part, you have to pull this thing down that crushes him, and in his final words, he tells you he's sorry. And I'm like, I forgive you, please come back. But, obviously, it's a video game, but I get emotionally attached. I have a very strong sense of empathy, especially for tragic antagonists like that. But then, literally, you get separated from Poppy and Kissy Missy, who is also another good toy in the game. But when you finally reunite, and you try to contact Ollie, the voice over the radio that's been helping you for the last couple chapters, it is, in fact, the prototype. Ollie was the prototype the whole time. And he deduces, or I'm not sure if the prototype like is a guy or a woman, but I'll just like say it or they, depending what everyone would prefer. But essentially, the prototype deduces where Poppy, Kissy, and the protagonist are, and when Poppy runs away in fear, because the prototype is alluding to the fact that it's going to lock her back in the box that she was in, kind of like Jessie from Toy Story. You guys remember that? She was terrified of being in a box. So was Poppy. But then the prototype takes these explosive charges that you were meant to destroy, that you were meant to use to destroy the prototype itself, and the protagonist and Kissy fall down a hole. Kissy tries to save you, but the protagonist falls down, and you make your way through these tunnels until you finally get to like this secret area. And then when you enter this room, you play a cassette when the voice of Liath Pierre, one of the executives at Playtime Co., he basically reveals, if you're playing this, then you're probably going to get shot. And he also reveals that putting that tape in triggered an alarm, and that someone is going to come after you. Then the protagonist, you can't move away. The camera literally shifts towards the door, where there's this little hole where you see inside, and all of a sudden you see this figure come out, and it comes running at the door and like banging on it. It's Huggy. Huggy was somehow alive after getting like bounced around on all these platforms in Chapter 1. And I mean, they did do a nightmare scenario with Huggy Wuggy in the 3rd chapter, which for me that was probably the most terrifying part of that chapter next to Catnap. But overall, I've really enjoyed this game. I've loved the characters. I've loved the world building, although it is pretty sad because, like I said, they're literally using kids. But there is a silver lining. There is a silver lining in this that could be led up to in the penultimate chapter. Well, actually, the final chapter, because Chapter 4 is the penultimate chapter. At least I hope so. But essentially, the orphans that lived in Playcare, this giant like underground Playcare daycare facility in the game, they were taken by the toys. They're still alive, at least that's what Poppy said. And I believe if the protagonist is going to be the goody two-shoes that they've been for the last 4 chapters, then it is heavily implied that the protagonist is going to try to rescue them, and that will somehow lead to the downfall of the prototype. I don't know what to expect for this game because they've been pulling, like, they have like not pulled any stops with this game, and all I can say is Mob Entertainment, they have cooked with this game. They have done a lot of good with this game. And one thing I did like is that in Chapter 2 of the game, they actually got Jacksepticeye, the top of the morning to you laddies. They got one of my favorite YouTubers to be a character in the game, as I think his name was Marcus Brownlee, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But I just love that. I love when gaming companies like reach out to creators and offer them the opportunity to be in these games. I love that. And to tell you the truth, if that could ever be the case for me, I would be honored. But that's probably either not going to happen or it's a long way off. But point being, I really, really like what they've done with this game. I really hope that Chapter 5 is as good as this one. And if it is, they could end it on such a fantastic note. But overall, if you haven't played Poppy Playtime, do play it, but a word of advice, do not play it when the lights are off, because if you feel like you're alone, after doing that, you're not going to feel so alone. Like, you're going to worry that, like, there's stuffed animals, like, stalking you from behind the corner or whatever. But I will say this. If you like horror games, if you like interesting take on mascot horror, which has been booming thanks to the popularity of Five Nights at Freddy's, I would highly recommend this game. I'd also recommend Indigo Park, which I'll either have to talk about at a different day if you guys would like me to. But if you would like to see me cover more videos like this, and if you do want me to do big fella plays, please smash that like button so that the algorithm can keep this going. I really appreciate it if you've watched this video all the way to the end. As always, I'm Big Fella. I'll see you next time. Hey-ya!